Toastmasters, viewers at home. I don't see any honored guests tonight, but someone may blow in late.
Yep.
My name is Rhonda Whitaker. I'm your Sergeant at Arms tonight. Thank you all for coming. It's so nice to see you on this night that's so rainy and makes people want to hibernate. And you've all been brave to come out in the storm. Thank you. Please, without further ado, help me welcome our club president, Mr. Will Burns.
And welcome, Toastmasters, guests, viewers at home, on another adventure here with Toastmasters. Our mission is to provide a mutually supportive, positive learning environment in which every member has the opportunity to develop oral communication and leadership skills, which in turn fosters self-confidence and personal growth.
Personal growth!
Personal growth, yeah. Something you all get behind here. As somebody who's had kind of exposure as a mentee, I'm sure you'll be able to be a mentor here before too long. And maybe one day you'll give that speech about mentorship.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to.
Okay, who is our next brave soul? Gene, Simonton Craig.
Yeah, Gene.
An inspiration.
Kick it, Gene.
Okay, 1 to 5. Please share with us a dream or ambition you had growing up. Has that changed, or has it stayed the same?
Yeah.
I'm going to really confess that all of this weather is really kind of soaking into my brain. It is a dark and soggy night and day. I don't know when it has stopped. So I'm going to tell you what my answer was when people asked me when I was a little kid. Adults would say, "So what do you want to be when you grow up?" And I would say in my little beaming face, "A criminal." Because I loved watching the look on their face. Because I was this little girl, and they'd say, "Well, don't you know that criminals get caught?" No. I want to be the kind of criminal that doesn't get caught. See, I had it all thought out. I love watching the adults kind of settle back, and this is not the usual response. How are we going to talk this little girl out of her mission? Well, as I grew, I started to realize that maybe being devious and heading towards a life of crime was not going to be the best path. I'm still not, Gesundheit, Tom. Yes, I got a little allergic to the idea of being a criminal, actually, because if you do get caught, you do spend time in jail. And now, since I volunteer down at the Fort Madison Penitentiary Toastmasters Club, I can see that it's not a good place to be, really. So I guess that's the answer to my question, to your question, Mr. Table Topics Master. I was a criminal in the making, but then I decided maybe that wasn't going to be the way to go.
Yeah. Yo.
We're all glad that you're not locked up in a slammer, so we can actually have you out here to bask in your wisdom. Dan, come on up.
Yo. Yeah, Dan.
Okay. 1 to 5.
5.
Please share with us an important accomplishment you have achieved in the last month. Did you have a team to do this, or did you do this on your own?
Mr. Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters, viewers at home. My most important accomplishment in the last month was something pretty out of character for me. I suppose you realize that I'm sort of the a little on the introspective side, if anybody's ever noticed. But something I do that's a little bit out of character for me is I drum in a performing group. And we're just kind of getting rolling. We've performed 4 or 5 times. But in the last month, I helped our group get guided towards playing at Art Walk. They sent out an email that said it's an international theme for the Art Walk. We're looking for musicians. Please contact so-and-so. So I didn't actually contact them, but I forwarded that information to somebody else who was a little more used to running that sort of thing down. And it turns out that it's a West African drumming group. We are going to be the featured musicians at the next Art Walk. So I think the most important part of the accomplishment will be when I actually survive giving a performance in front of, I assume it'll be 300 or 400 people. Easily our biggest crowd. But I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Heck yeah.
I'm hoping it will.
Definitely.
And that is it.
Yo! That's enough.
Another powerful leader here, learning how to delegate and get kind of approach the big challenge. Diane, come on.
Yo! Okay, Diane.
Let's keep them up. We got one more here.
What's that? One more? I don't even know. What number's left?
1 and 3.
1.
Tell us about a team you're on. How that went.
Thank you. Hi everyone, Toastmasters, viewers at home. Guess, what team was I on and what role would I have played on that team?
Volleyball spider.
Close.
Basketball.
Basketball.
Center. Power forward.
Center. No, basketball center. I'm not very competitive. When I got to college, they needed a center. And I was approached, I felt like I don't know who the basketball star was back then, Wilt Chamberlain or something. But I come on campus and I was never approached by more people to do something. And they said to me, all you have to do is just stand under the basket, put your arms up, and just go for that ball. And then when you get it, throw it to someone. I said, I think I can do that. And that's just what I did. And I was a very important part of a team. Now, that was my experience with being on a team. I'm going to add one more thing to an experience I had teaching. I love talking about these little 5th and 6th graders that I teach. And it's one thing to hear about a team, and then it's one thing to actually see young people, doesn't matter, but for me it's this age, actually get the concept of team. Whatever, we were playing, I taught them ultimate frisbee. And for me to like talk it out to them, look at how Paloma passed to John, passed to Jesus, and then the frisbee went into the goal. And to watch their faces as they got that and realize that it wasn't just about them, that it took all those steps to make the team was just, it was so delightful. So that's my story for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow, so far it's been an evening of delightful tales so far, and we're not even to the speeches yet. Let me call up our table topics evaluator. We'll be asked of our illustrious timer, did all of our speakers qualify?
Oh, yes, they're all qualified.
And the names, please.
Rhonda, Jean Symington Craig, Ann Craig, and Diane Denbach.
Okay, we'll take a minute and vote. And we're back. And it's my pleasure to now call up our table topics evaluator, John Moros.
Yeah, John.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Good evening, Toastmasters, viewers at home, honored guests. We had 4 speakers tonight. First, the topic was having to do with mentoring, as the word of the night is tutelage, under whose tutelage we were. Rhonda, first up, she volunteered, or did she volunteer? I don't know. Her question was, did she ever have a mentor? From personal experience, she talked about having the chance to have Jean Simonton Craig as her mentor, okay, and she questioned that. And for her, that was a lifelong mistake, having questioned that, because now she's 6 months behind with her. So what I would like to say is, with that I think that was a great personal experience, Rhonda, and a good learning experience, and I like the fact that you could admit that you did something wrong, which we can all relate to. Some of us can relate to that, right? I don't know. Myself included, I can relate to that. Rhonda, one suggestion I would make is that you move around more and vocalize more, that's all, just more lively. But other than that, you did a fantastic job, just like it's pool calisthenics or something like that, like your class that you give.
Yeah.
Great job. Then Jean Simonton Craig, next. She was talking about very personal story of wanting to be a criminal. Okay. Now, I think that's fascinating because we learned something about Jean is that she liked to play with adults' minds at an early age. And then now we know she has not stopped doing that. And it's interesting that she would talk about this and then realize that it was a bad idea. Okay. So we had redemption, we had a life of crime, we had the whole thing going on. And just one thing I would say about Jean, she would, just more vocal variety, that's all. Tonight, usually you're like amazing with everything you do, so it might be the energy of the storms or something, taking our energy away. Dan Craig, up next, his most important accomplishment, drumming, I love it. Getting something into Ragbri, which is fantastic, it's coming to town, but it's going to be more, not 300-400 people, like 3,000 or 4,000 people. So that's okay. You'll do fine. What I liked about that is he talked about an accomplishment, how he solved the accomplishment, and then the pride that he took when he is going to accomplish that accomplishment. He wrapped it up. That's what I like. Dan wrapped it up. Diane, next. What team was she on? And what role did she play? Basketball, no surprise there. But then what I liked about it is that she created a teaching moment in which she shared with us how it felt like to teach children. And we know that that's Diane's greatest thing. And then Diane, I would just like to see some dribbling. That's all. That's all. That's it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, John.
Thank you, John. And now it is my pleasure to introduce.
Is it possible to migrate a couple people over to this side? I mean,
I know, I was thinking that
it's
when we were.
it's so lonely over here.
We got John, we got Jean thinking about it.
Thank you.
Here, give it to me. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our first evaluator for our first speaker, Rhonda Whitaker, who will introduce Karen Aoki.
Yeah.
Okay, tonight Karen Aoki is giving her second speech. It's called Organize Your Speech, and she's giving a speech that is going to be so organized it will have an intro, a body, and a conclusion, and you will know exactly what she's going to say and what her point is before she does the speech or gets into it heavily. The objectives of the speech are to select an appropriate outline which allows listeners to easily follow and understand your speech. Make your message clear and supporting material directly contributing to that message clear. Use appropriate transitions when moving from one idea to another. And create a strong opening and a conclusion. It's a 5 to 7 minute speech. It's a personal speech. It's a story about Karen's medical history and why she chose this title. The title is Fasting for Health, a case study on myself. Karen, a little bit about Karen's background. She is studying, currently a PhD researcher at MUM in the discipline of Maharishi Vedic science, specializing in reading Sanskrit texts in Sanskrit to develop higher states of consciousness. She's part owner of Earth and Water Tea Lounge, and I spent Sunday afternoon in there and enjoyed a delicious cup of tea. It's like a small tea temple. I highly recommend it. It's very calming and a gentle place to have conversation. She's also a classical flautist, by training at Interlochen Arts Academy and the Eastman School of Music. She's pursuing a career in public speaking in the areas of total self-development, to add to the areas of total self-development she's getting from MUM. Please help me welcome Karen Aoki.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests at home. I'm Karen Aoki, and in the next few minutes, I'd like to share with you a quick, easy, and cheap way to achieve significant health and wellness goals. And it takes only one ingredient: water. First, I'll start by sharing a personal medical history, health history. Then I'll share how my water fasting experience came about and how it greatly contributed to my health goals. And finally, I'll end with a little bit of tutelage, how one can go on a water fast and get more information about it. First, I'll start with my personal health history. For over 10 years, I've been dealing with chronic inflammation. So I've had, I can't tell you how many number of times I've had eczema, atopic dermatitis just sweep over my entire body. It's a completely debilitating condition and interferes with quality of life and happiness. And although I've been on medication and antihistamines, I've always had the goal of restoring my physiology to perfect health and balance. That leads me to water fasting. A couple weeks ago, some close friends and I started to research the benefits of water fasting. Each of us had a significant area of health or concern, and I was overjoyed to find that water fasting has had great success with people with inflammation conditions such as arthritis, psoriasis, and other inflammatory conditions. So I jumped on board and I started an 11-day water fast. And I concluded the fast about a week ago, so the experience is still pretty fresh. And I'm happy to report that within 2-3 days I was off my medication, and I was experiencing more ease and comfort than I've experienced in I don't know how long. It's been such a journey of healing and transformation. And it ties right into my research at Maharishi Vedic Science, which is all about complete transformation, body, mind, and spirit. So I attribute these techniques, these modalities like water fasting, to the deep level of evolution that's taking place within my experience on a daily basis. So I did an 11-day water fast, and at the conclusion of it, I was so excited by the results, I decided this is going to be my next table topics. Prepared speech topic. As for the methodology, I'm sure you're interested in the mechanics of this process.
Yes.
Water fasting has been a part of human civilization for 50,000 years. And for this knowledge, I'm going to refer to this book by Dr. Joel Fuhrman. It's called Fasting and Eating for Health. I also refer to the works of Adam Goldhammer, and you can watch some of his tapes on YouTube, but this is where I got a lot of my information. So he's overseen thousands of people on water fasting, and he has seen miraculous recovery. So the physiology goes through an amazing transformation once the food intake has stopped. Now, of course, as I said earlier, all you need is water. Therefore, it's a very cheap, safe, easy way to achieve significant health. Once the body is off of food within 2 or 3 days, it switches from metabolizing glucose to metabolizing ketones. So it starts eating off of your own fat. And the body is very intelligent. It takes what it needs to maintain homeostasis. Furthermore, when the body is given a chance to rest, incredible healing takes place. And the longer the fast, the more significant the healing. So he says after 7 days, that's when the deep healing begins. And for chronic conditions such as psoriasis and eczema, minimum 21 days. And it's miraculous what the body will do when just left on its own. All that's needed is water. I didn't really get to 21 days for personal considerations and time constraint, but I was incredibly encouraged because he cited one study where patients with inflammatory conditions did a 10 to 12 day fast, and as long as they went to a whole foods, healthy diet, vegan diet, the development just continued and continued. So that's what I'm doing. I transitioned to a healthy diet, and one of my goals was to completely get off of anything processed or refined, so I went the pastries that I make every day. But I'm still happy with the results. I don't mind. You know, I'm really up for that and ready for a completely nutritious lifestyle. So in conclusion, I'd like to share with you that water fasting is very safe for anyone to do. It's wonderful with those who have chronic conditions, heart disease, diabetes. Pretty significant health challenges are greatly benefited from water fasting. It's also good for healthy individuals. And if you're going to do a significant fast, one fast like that every 5 to 10 years is all you need. It's a wonderful way to just flush out. Second point is that a true fast in which the system switches over to ketonic metabolism requires just water. So if you have anything like juice, it's not technically fasting. If that's more of a low-calorie situation, you're still using glucose. So to switch over to the ketonic state, you need just water. So I hope you agree with me that it's a very cheap, easy, safe way to gain major health goals, not to mention lose excessive fat or pounds. And of course, you want to do your research, so you want to know how to carefully get off of a fast. There's a very specific way to do that with soft, juicy, sweet fruits, and you build up slowly till your digestive system is up and running again. For all that, I again refer to Dr. Joel Fuhrman's book, and I wish you great success, health, and happiness.
2 and 1, greater health, 6 months.
Evaluation, 2 minutes.
Please take 2 minutes and evaluate the speaker. And now, to evaluate Seth Braun, we have Tom Trainer.
Seth Braun is doing speech number 1 from the Advanced Manual Speaking to Inform.
All right.
So the first speech is the speech to inform. It gets a little more complicated after this. His objectives are select new and useful information for presentation to his audience. Very interesting. 2, organize the information to easy understandability and retention. So he has to give us something new and he's got to organize it. And 3, he's got to present the information in a way that will help motivate the audience to learn something. Falls right in with part of our thing about tutelage, right? We're going to have a little tutelage tonight. His speech is going to be 7 to 9 minutes, and he actually has a title, which he just gave me. It's called the May 2013 World Tour of Speaking. I made up the last little bit. Since he didn't give me an introduction, I can say anything I want about him. That's the fun thing. They don't give you one, you can make it all up. He's the biggest bozo we have in this club. He's our former past president. He's been a winner at all levels. He is much loved. He is a team leader. He's our friend. Please welcome Seth Brown.
Speaking tours. If you aspire to be a professional speaker, I'll share with you some of the things that I'm learning on tour. For me, this allows me to debrief. I like to come back to this Toastmasters Club and unpack my experience. It helps me to also learn, and it will inspire you if you so desire to get out there and be a road warrior. I concluded a second tour of Seattle and Vancouver, and it began 10 days ago, and it ended this morning when I woke up at 2 a.m. and drove from northern Washington to SeaTac International Airport, boarded a plane to Minneapolis, and took another plane to Cedar Rapids, and came back home. After 10 days on the road, I learned that it was a good choice not to repeat what I did last year. Last year I attempted to speak 300 times in 1 year. 300 live presentations to an audience. Not to myself in the car, but to an audience. I didn't achieve my goal of 300 presentations. I completed 200, a little over 200 presentations last year. I'm not going to do that again. That's done. That time of my life's over. I learned what I needed to learn from that. Now I'm very content speaking less, but for a very deliberate reason. I no longer feel the need to speak at many Toastmasters clubs or Rotary clubs, although I still will give no-fee talks. I was very content with this speaking tour, speaking less, but speaking for more money and speaking with more impact. Upon arriving, I arrived on a Friday in the Northwest, drove up to friends who live in the foothills of the Cascades. Beautiful clouds right there next to you. And it rained, probably a little less than it did here. That's normal. I'm enjoying my time. I had a kind of a day off, and then Saturday rolls around. I'm getting ready. I feel good. I feel like I got this. I'm going to go speak at Unity at White Rock in British Columbia. I know the talk. I know it very well. I've incorporated my speech competition speech into this talk, which I've been practicing, as you know. I'm ready to go. I'm going to kill it. I'm going to knock it out of the park. I feel good. I don't have my passport.
Oh.
And then it occurs to me, I saw kind of how it's going. I'm like, check, check, and no passport. Oh, I forgot my passport! And it's just one of those things where, speaking tour, I have a checklist. Check, 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 check. And I have a kind of a basket that I keep everything in now. I keep these shoes. These shoes only come on when I'm on stage. They're in that shoebox, and they're with my stuff. So I have everything there, but I just was slightly out of kilter with my passport. My passport was in a slightly different spot. The human brain, I don't know. It just does things sometimes. I'm just like, why did it do that? So then I had to think about it. So I forgot my passport. The minister's she's expecting me to be there. I'm staying with the ministers, the husband and wife. They both have churches. So we're talking about it. She's not going to be there. I need to be there. Now last time I went to Canada, I had a whole fiasco at the border around professional speaking and my books and what are you in Canada for? I'm going to go speak at a Toastmasters club. What do you do for a living? I'm a speaker. Are you getting paid? No, I'm going to volunteer at the Toastmasters. Pull over here. We need to talk to you. And that just kept happening because I had all these talks in Canada. So I'm kind of nervous about the border. I'm starting to feel like, But we print out copies of my passport. I get it scanned to me and a birth certificate. I've read that it's possible, it can work. I get a letter from the minister, Seth's going to come and talk about mission work at our church. That's basically true. I have a mission, and I'm going to talk about it. So I have this letter from the minister, I have the copy, and I'm rolling up to the border. Now, at the border, I feel nervous in border crossings. It's just a place, you know, it's not a, it's kind of a big deal, actually, because you're going between two countries, and there's this one spot where things can get a little weird. So I'm pulling up, and I'm getting out my wallet so I can get out my, no driver's license!
Oh, no.
What is going on? And the car ahead of me pulls up, and I kind of follow it up. And I'm not, because I'm like, I have a friend, body worker from Boulder, who just moved to, just on the other side of the Canadian border. She's with me. And I'm like, yeah, don't know. And then I'm all of a sudden I'm there, and I'm like, I'm talking about my mission work. And she looks at me, and I'm expecting she's going to say, well, so this is a copy of your passport. She says, so why didn't you stop back there? And now I'm like, great. I have no idea what she's talking about. I don't have my driver's license. I don't have a real passport. I just say, I was distracted. I tell her the truth. I was distracted. I don't have my license. Well, then I'm telling her I'm going to this church, and she says, why didn't you stop back there? Now I'm sweating. And she says, well, you don't have a license. You have a copy of your passport. Your guest is going to have to drive. So pull over and go in and see if they'll let you through. Now it's a rental car. And my guest can't drive my rental car. So here I am. We pull into the side. I'm just like, border crossings. Then I think, okay, here's what's really going on. You see, my grandparents came to the States. My great-grandparents came to the States with my grandfather from Russia, ethnic Germans escaping the Bolshevik Revolution. They came to Ellis Island, 30-day trip, across the ocean, and they couldn't get in. I think I have some ancestral something. It's like still working in my cellular memory, because I'm just, every time I go to the border crossing, I'm just like, no, we can't repeat that again. It's like my grandparents are echoing down through the ages, or maybe not. Maybe I'm just too creative. Anyways, we pull over, and I think, this is impossible. I know I have my driver's license. I'm not that big of a knucklehead. So I'm looking through, and sure enough, I pulled it out with my rental agreement when I'm leaving the airport, and there it was. So, okay, there's my driver's license. We go in, boom, we got it. No problem. Give the talk's great, the workshop is great, we move on. Now here's the great part of the story. This is the second time I went to speak at Bastyr University. Bastyr University is the largest naturopathic school in the United States. It's also the most well-funded, beautiful campus, platinum LEED certified guest housing and student housing, wonderful permaculture landscapes, gorgeous facilities, and they're paying me to talk about my work for holistic health professionals as a coach. So I'm getting paid to get clients. Not only that, this time when I speak, they invite me back to teach a 4-credit class next year. So next year I'll be paid by career services, staff training, and for a credit class. This is the beauty of focus and continuous improvement in one area. By continuing to speak, by continuing to tour in the same places, I'm developing these tours that I can imagine will be lucrative, fun, very well connected, very soulful, very meaningful for me. So if you aspire to be a professional speaker, the first thing I want to remind you to do is always remember where you packed your passport if you have to travel out of the country. Have a checklist. I have my checklist, but I didn't follow it. And the second most important piece of inspiration that I can share with you about my speaking tour is focus. It's so hard for me to focus on one thing. But just deciding that I'm going to support holistic health professionals in their businesses, that's going to be my focus. That's where my speaking and my workshops and my teleclasses and webinars are going to be this year. Then I received the fruition by getting invited back to teach a 4-credit class at the biggest naturopathic school in the country. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Yo!
few minutes. And we're back. I want to thank you all for that experience. I felt like I was back in college again. Everybody's so seriously writing, quiet, and kind of magical experience. And now we're going to write again. We're going to vote for our best speaker.
Voted.
First question, did both our speakers qualify?
Yes, they did.
All right, and the names are Karen
Karen
and Seth.
Or Seth. And
Or Seth. Yeah, if you want to do either one. And now we get to the speeches for the main course. This is now the review of the meal. This is the taste testing. I will now call up our general evaluator, Darlene Martin.
Yo! Yeah, Darlene!
Thank you, Will. Thank you, Seth. Well, first I would like to call up Rhonda, and she is going to be evaluating Karen. So
Yeah, Rhonda.
for Rhonda's evaluation.
Fellow Toastmasters, viewers at home, we all learned something wonderful to eat that's inexpensive. So far, so far. Now, Karen, I really enjoyed your appearance, your professional appearance, professional dress, the fact that you are studying consciousness and you impeccably represent yourself as someone who studies consciousness, and that you bring us a personal story about your personal progress using the consciousness of water in the body and understanding specific points. It was well researched. I feel like I could find the book. I liked your visual aid. The speech values. Did anyone in here feel like they would like to do a water fast now? Please raise your hand. Yeah, half the people here. All right. Good pitch for Dr. Joel Verman. I think your preparation was very good. There was a little bit of nervousness. Once in a while the words would kind of slither. I like the way you came up front and used the stage. Your opening was particularly good to share your personal life experience, something specific about your health, the eczema, and why you were looking for a better source because there wasn't something to help you so far satisfactorily. And it was convincing. The body flowed smoothly. I like the way you used transition words. You said first, finally, in addition to, transition phrases, excuse me. I think that if you had used your body to emphasize a point and come out like to Diane and say one of your, like your major point, and made that eye contact that we're all encouraged to do here for a few seconds to bring people meaning between us and them, to engage them, that's an area that you could improve in. Everything else is lovely and enchanting and cosmic. Perfect words. And that concludes my evaluation.
Thank you, Rhonda. And now we would like to introduce Tom Trainer to evaluate Seth.
Madam General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, viewers at home, but most especially Seth. What made this speech interesting? Personal story. You can't go wrong with a personal story. And what he was doing was he had a videotape running, and he was looking at the tape, he was editing out extraneous information and presenting it because he thought about it, because those long plane rides give you lots of time. how effectively did your opening capture and hold your attention? By the way, I'm using this manual specifically because this is the type of speech you really need to focus, because this is how I can give maximum feedback. I would say it was typical. It was a superb effort. But a couple of things. One of the things later on, it says, what could you have done to improve? What I would have liked to have seen was have a more descriptive title, so that your title matched up with what you were trying to teach us, and then use the title as an opening, either in the form of a question or a statement, or I learned this, ba, ba, ba. So that way then you've tied the title, your opening, and you're going to bring it back later, which you did, to what you wanted us to learn, but what you learned. And so you end up with beginning, middle, end, same theme, on theme, on theme. And I know you do this when you do professional speeches, so I'm saying rise to that level here for us. I'll give you a hard time anyway. How comfortable was he? He's very comfortable. He's really, really blossomed. He was always good. He's getting a whole lot better. Confident? Superb. In control? Of course. What was the organizational structure? Again, he was chronological, telling us a story, looking at the video, and kind of taking through all the steps. What did he encourage us to learn? Focus, and less is more. Very good. So that could have been some way in your title and your opening, and would have been repeating the same thing over and over again. How effectively did he relate new information? So what he did was he talked about being a professional speaker, being a Toastmasters, and how his lessons applied to that. So it tied in really well. What could he have done better? Begin the title with what you wanted us to learn. What would you say his strongest asset? Is he great at storytelling? What to improve? And this is what you asked me to look for. Slow some of your material down. Now, when you talked about forgetting your passport, perfect place. The obvious thing everybody does is they get all excited. You just stand there and you go, I forgot my passport. Do the opposite of what people expect. That's where you get the emphasis, because you didn't do what they expected. And when you slow down at a point when they think you're going to speed up, and you could use a little bit more temperance in terms of your cadence is pretty even, get that cadence to stretch out. Be a little bit more irregular. Madam General Evaluator.
All right, Tom.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you. Okay, so now I'm going to check with our timer to see if our 3 evaluators qualified this evening, including table topics.
John and Rhonda qualified, Tom went over.
Okay, so it's time to vote. We have 2 candidates, John and Rhonda. Or Rhonda and John.
Either way, huh?
Either. Okay, now we're going to have our reports for the evening. The next most exciting part of the evening. We'll start with our timer, Cindy Trainer.
Yo, Cindy.
I'll follow the chronological order of the meeting. Table topics comes first. Rhonda's time was 2 minutes, 15 seconds. Jean Symington Craig was 1 minute, 51 seconds. Dan Craig, 1 minute, 49 seconds. And Diane was 2 minutes and 1 second. Speeches, Karen was 6 minutes and 26 seconds, and Seth was 9 minutes and 18 seconds. Table topics evaluator, John, was 3 minutes, 21 seconds. And our speech evaluators, Rhonda was 2 minutes, 39 seconds, and Tom Trainer was 3 minutes and 39 seconds.
Yo!
Yo!
And now we will look to our all-counter, Jesus Rios.
Rhonda Whitaker, Jean, Dan, and Darlene have a clean slate. Will, 1 sow and 1 copy, 1 repeat. Diane, 1 sow. John, 1 and 1 sow. Correction. 1 and 1 and. Karen got 3 A's, 2 sows, and 5, I would say maybe not on clicks, but maybe lip smacks. They were really, really, really discreet. Then they would probably fly in a regular audience, but I was looking for those things. And I just think that it's important that I just like notice that. And we have Seth Brown, 1 A, 1 like, 1 soul, 2 the same lip smacks, really discreet. You can watch the video and check me on that one. And 1 copy. That's my report for tonight.
Thank you, Jesus. And now we will look to our grammarian, Raul Valls.
Yo!
Well, as a grammarian, I have very few things that I need to do. I would say one of the first things that I have to do is the word of the day, and I was very disappointed. Not many people used it. I thought it was a very simple word. The only 2 people who used it correctly were Karen Aoki and Tom Trainer. Then out of blue, Seth Brown said it when he was not supposed to speak. But besides that, all the speakers that spoke today were very colorful, vivid, and vivacious speakers. And I had a hard time keeping track of beautiful language that was used tonight because there was so much of it which was presented. But still, some of the main things that caught my attention and I would really like to bring into your notice are from speech of Karen Naoki, benefit of water fasting. She became a reporter and said, happy to report, such a journey of healing and transformation. Transformation of body, mind, and spirit. At the end, she gave a very effective conclusion, which I forgot, but that was a very beautiful piece of language too. Seth Brown, be out there and be a road warrior. Speaking less, but speaking with more impact. Tom Trainer said the same thing along the lines of focus and less is more. With that, I'd like to hand back to Madam General Evaluator.
Yo!
Thank you, Raul. And now we will have our joke master, Art Atkinson.
Yo!
So Toastmasters, you're probably aware that many products have a warning label on them.
Yes.
Misuse them. Someone discovered that shampoo had a warning label. She says, I don't know why I didn't figure this out sooner. I use shampoo in the shower. When I wash my hair, the shampoo runs down all over me, all over my whole body, and it printed very clearly on the label is this warning. Adds extra volume and body. No wonder I've been getting fat. Well, I've gotten rid of this shampoo, and I'm starting to shower now with Dawn dish soap instead, because the label reads, dissolves fat that is otherwise difficult to remove. Wow.
Thank you, Art. That was great. Now I get to give my report as the general evaluator. And I will start with John. I thought you did a wonderful job with your humor. Every evaluation that you gave, there was humor for each person. And that is just quite lovely, your own natural personality coming out there. You also gave compliments and then things for people to do, improvements that they could do. Jean playing with people's mind at an early age. Diane dribbling the ball.
Yeah.
One suggestion I would make is when you have your glasses and your clipboard, there's like a movement, you know, the glasses are coming off and on, and as you're talking, the clipboard is flying around a little bit too. So just be aware of those things when you're giving your evaluation. But I love your humor. It's fantastic. Rhonda, there was just such a good, organized introduction. I'm not sure who, did you put your introduction together or did you work on it together?
Yeah.
But it was very well done and there was so much information gathered just in the introduction. I thought that was very well done. I liked how you laid out your 3 points and then you talked about the 3 points. You told us what you were going to do. I like that Jesus picked up on the, I am doing that too and I catch myself and so I'm catching other people doing it and I like that he caught that. I really thought, Rhonda, you gave great examples of things and then you said what they were, like descriptions in addition, finally. And when you also were talking about eye contact, you walked over to somebody right over here and looked at her. So it was not just saying it, but showing it, which was wonderful. And my one suggestion was going to be for you to move out, but then you did it. You were back here, but then you came out and you gave a suggestion, so I thought you did a lovely job. Tom. I thought you did a great job with not having an introduction, just making it up. And it helps me to appreciate how important that is when someone is doing an evaluation for you to have it together because it really puts you on the spot. And I did that the first time when I was evaluated by at HIP, and I can see how important it is. So whoever's giving a speech, it really makes it more difficult for the evaluator if you don't have it. But Tom, you did a really good job improvising there. You came out right away in the front, you gave great feedback, and you really know Seth's potential and where he can go. So your feedback really rises up to that, and I appreciate that. I learned so much just from you when you give him his evaluations, because you raise his bar, and it needs to be up there because of his talent and his ability. And also the examples that you gave of the material slowing down and the great example of the passport. What was my word there? The only suggestion I would have for Tom is your time. You ran out of time and went over. So,
Yep.
Okay, I think that covers it. So now we will go back to our Toastmaster, Will Byrne.
Yo!
Thank you. Well, let me just check. We're winding down. The end of the meeting. Our final event, the awards. Awards. Start off with best table topics. Diane.
Yo!
Best speaker. But Karen, not to worry. Come on up. You got your cue here. We have a number of great evaluators. Yep. No surprise here. Rhonda Whitaker.
Yo!
And thank you, Toastmasters, guests, viewers at home. It's time to close. So with that,
Time to bring up the president.
Jean, before being the president, go ahead.
I just wanted to ask, since we have a little bit of time, if there's any report or feedback on the officer selections for next year, since we're at the end of our May session, and, you know, Diane?
I have some.
Let's calling up Diane.
Okay, here I come. Here's what I have so far. Am I allowed to say what and bring it all out?
Or just, when are you planning on, are you overseeing it? I just wanted to see when we're planning on having the election and doing.
I'm on the committee, and I suppose I'm the head of the committee, and naturally I'm relying on the expertise of Tom and Cindy to guide me along in this role. So at this point, I've been busy trying to, I've been the recruiter.
Mhm.
And Tom, there was one email about when we're doing what. Can you help me here?
Try to get it wrapped up by next week so we can
Yeah.
have the new people with the old people at the first officer meeting in June.
In June, that's
And we
right.
expected to have it pretty much wrapped.
Yeah.
So is next week the election?
The coronation.
Okay, because the next, just, the officer meeting is also next
Next week.
Tuesday before.
They'll be invited in.
Okay, so, with a presumption.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay.
If you're only nominating one person. That's a good presumption. Pretty. So, I think we'll be done next week, right?
Floors.
We're almost done.
We're
We got one or two
getting-
things over,
Yeah,
that's all.
yeah.
Okay, so you feel, it looks like it's on track and
Yeah,
everything?
very much.
Yeah.
Because then it needs to be submitted. All right.
We need, can I ask for the one position that really needs to be filled? If anyone wants to jump and volunteer, the president. We need
That's
a
the easiest role, come on.
president.
So see Diane after if you have
Yeah.
any questions.
And I've been emailing people, if you haven't heard from me, don't take it personally, just, you know, there's just different things going on, so. We're on it.
Okay. Good, thank you.
Anybody, okay?
As a member of the committee, I
Yes.
would like to commend Diane for, she's really done the lion's share of the work that the committee has done so far, and she deserves some accolade just for the time that she's put into it.
Yo!
My pleasure to help the club.
Let's bring up the president.
So, the Prez, Mr.
The Prez.
President.
What can I say about being president? It's an amazing experience. I have to be honest, it's a little bit like Dan. You kind of step into it with one expectation, and then you kind of get sucked into this whole world, and you realize, oh wow, there's a lot to do here. And there's, you know, I'm now kind of in front of these people all the time. But you guys are my friends. You're my mentors, my inspiration. It's been a wonderful experience, and I would revel in having one of you step up. Because come on now, you guys wouldn't really want to have me up here again for a whole other year, would you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not allowed to.
Not allowed.
Not allowed to.
You'll be
Yeah,
getting.
Or like that for volunteer will.
Gene,
Now, one thing that came up this year was that if you have any aspirations for going on and serving at the top level of the district, administration, you have to have been a president of a club. Because we had our Division E governor, who was highly qualified, I think, in many ways, but had never, just one of those little resume things that
Yep.
didn't, and that's a rule. So it's a nice thing to, it's not that you have to be treasurer, it's not that you have to be VP of Ed, but you have to be president of a club. So, something to consider.
this is your chance. Think about that tonight.
Can you tell us how many hours you put in outside the club as president? Did you have to go to other clubs and have meetings?
No.
No, you're, in my, every president will find their own style. Personally, I found the greatest success, again, this is a very strong club. We have very experienced members. So for me, the mentorship of this level and above. So other clubs have their ways of doing things, but sound arrogant here. I'm really impressed with this club. I've been less impressed with just other clubs just haven't been at the same level that we are here. But my attention would be is more internally driven as opposed to externally driven. However, if you wanted to maybe
Try it on.
try it in a different direction, spread your wings, so to speak, on something to consider.
Well, I'll throw my hat in the ring.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, you must have had something happen. I've emailed a couple times to see if you were interested. So I'm going to grab
I
you after
did
the
have
meeting.
something with my Magic Mail Lisco account, get 90% full, and I had company, and I didn't get to it to
It did go to Lisco.
delete
So anyway, we can talk.
3,000 emails.
That actually
Yeah.
brings up a business topic that I need everybody to hear, and that is that I, as treasurer, cannot change your contact information that Toastmasters headquarters has for you. You have to go to Toastmasters headquarters either by the website or by the phone and do it yourself. And that information is what goes into the spreadsheet that I send around to all of you, which is the club roster. Now, once I get the spreadsheet, yes, I could by hand change what it says in the spreadsheet, but it would still be wrong at Toastmasters headquarters. The other somewhat complicating factor is that we have a whole separate set of data on our local club website, which is your name, your phone, your email address. Those we can change locally, and if it needs to be changed, just email me with what it has to be, and either I would do it or Rahul, one of us that has administrative access to the local website, would change it. But that still wouldn't change the roster. All it would affect mostly is whether you got the emails that go to the member email list or the officer email list. Is that clear as mud?
Yep.
Got it.
Great, thank you.
With that, I'll ask if you each of you to spend a few minutes here, help us pick
I just
up.
have one, can I do one more?
Of course, come on up here. We got
Let's
everybody.
just take a minute. One of the roles that's also open is VP of Public Relations. And I was wondering, is there someone in here who has done that, could briefly describe the position and how long? Yeah, that's what I thought, Art. Would you mind taking a minute just to?
Yeah, it was a matter of writing articles about events that were coming up and submitting them to the Ledger, which virtually always prints them, and to the Weekly Reader if we get it to them in enough advance time, and particularly if we're putting an ad in for an event, and any of the other local media, and once or twice doing the same thing with local radio. It's a fun job.
Yeah.
I said it's sort of like when I gave the speech, it was marketing. You're marketing. When I described the roles, I said, well, that's the marketing.
Yeah, the job of the VP to PR is look for the opportunities
to
say, so-and-so just got this award from
Right. Yeah, right.
Toastmasters International, they just qualified at this new level,
Right.
let's get the news into the paper, this event is coming up. It's the VP of PR has to be proactively looking for how can I get some news out into the community
Okay.
about what we're doing.
Good. So, got any news people out here and that see me, because that's another role that's open.
So the one thing about that is Lydia Cole did that when I was president, and she transitioned that into work at the university.
Yeah.
She said, I want to be writing for the university, I want to blog for them and do PR for them. I'm going to spend a year doing it for Toastmasters, and then she converted it into a job.
Yeah, that's right, good
So
point.
it can be strategic.
Okay. Good, thank you. Thank you. All right.
Is there any further business? Hearing none. Meeting adjourned.